is Custom Apparel Startups Facebook page. So if you're not a member of this, I highly recommend you go here. This is where a group of embroiderers, people who do bling, people who do direct-to-garment printing, like with the new, like a Viper 2 direct-to-garment printer or an Avance embroidery machine or all different brands and types that are out there. They come here and they ask questions. They talk about the business, pricing, what they're going to do, if they need help with a job. It's a great community. We've got 1,200 members and growing. As you can see, 48 are new in this community. So it's a great, fantastic place to join. The next is the webinar, CAS webinars. You obviously got here through that page, but if you go to the page, you'll see all the upcoming things that we've got coming and going along. So if you notice little links are popping up in the chat, I'm sharing those with you. And one other to mention is the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. So this is all different types of information. No selling is going on in here. There's no pitches. There's nothing about what you should or shouldn't buy or how to buy it. This is all about your business so you can grow. Like we've got offline marketing essentials. We talk about websites. We talk about direct-to-garment branding.
We talk about web sites.
Yeah, all that stuff. So we've got everything here to really help you out and help you grow along with resources and stuff. So if you click start here, you can listen, and you can also download these. You can get them on iTunes. You can download it to your phone. You can just play it right here with the play button. So that's a few different ways we can educate and connect to you so we can help you with your business and with doing embroidery and all the other things that you get involved in. So the last thing just to show you, and we're going to come back here at the end, this is the Coleman & Company website, and here's where you can find the patches. You'll see one of our Michael here in a famous patch video we have, and a lot of information about patches, how to do them, and all the products that we sell to help get you started in patches. So without further ado, I'm going to shut the screen off here. We're going to start the video, and I'm going to hand it over to Michael. And again, as I mentioned, if you lose the video here, click away and click back, and you'll see the video pop up right away. So here we are, and Michael, take the floor.
All righty. Good afternoon. We've made patches before. Those of you that have seen our video in the very beginning, I think I made that upwards of 6 or 7 years ago at the Atlantic City Trade Show. It was the first one I believe I had ever done. And the whole thing about patch making came about from receiving probably 5 or 6 phone calls in like a 30-day period of time. I would hang up on some of those because I really didn't know how to answer their questions. But in reality, what it was how do I make a patch, even if I just need one or if I need a dozen? But the bigger question was not just how do I make a patch, how do I keep the edge of the patch intact? It's always fraying. I have to use glue. You name a glue, I've heard it. When I cut it out with scissors, it fails. So the reality of the whole history of our system was I sat down with a couple of technicians and another embroidery business owner, and we sat at a little round table and we discussed what is the overall problem. And it came down to the edge unravels when you use scissors. So what stays together? In my experience, things that can melt will stay together. So to make a longer story shorter, we came up with a polyester fabric coupled with polyester thread, cut out with a hot knife. Everything is cauterized, everything is sealed, it doesn't come apart. All the patches that you can see on this garment have been done in the exact same way that I'm going to show you today. Every one of these is done that way, no matter what shape or size it is. They're all done in the same exact fashion. Now, this is not a system that you're going to sit down and make 500 patches in an hour. That's not what this is. This is for small numbers, custom patches. That's where people make their money. When you use the word custom, when you're talking to someone, your cash register rings a little bit louder, a little bit sweeter. So that's what we show you. So let's get into it. What we have is our original material we refer to as patch mat, short for patch material. And over here, I'm pretty sure the camera covers it. This is actually black. It's not an empty space. It comes in 10 different colors. What's unique about it is that it looks as if it has had a complete field of embroidery, like a fill pattern shown. Any of you that can see this really well, it looks as if all of it has been sewn out by your embroidery machine. Okay, so when you choose the color of the material, that color becomes the background color of the patch. So if I choose white material, this becomes the white background, and all I'm doing is adding the border and the filling in the middle. Any one of these patches that you see behind me is in the same fashion. Yes, we used to have purple. Don't ask for it anymore, it's gone. Beyond that, we've got gold, we've got light blue, we've got green, we've got several colors, black and white being the most popular. So when you pick the color of the fabric, that is the background of your patch. You're not sewing that color out, so you're saving time and money, okay? So let's move on to the very first step. When you pick this light blue, and your idea is to use, say, black thread to make a border, black thread for the middle, this material will eventually become these patches, okay? So now there's steps in between. Let me cover some of those. If you look at the ugly side of the patch material, this is the side that where your bobbin thread will be. This is a very slick material. It's got a lot of movement to it. It's very difficult to hoop. Now, years ago, this material came to us from Germany with glue already added on the back. It wasn't heavy glue. It was messy. People hated it. I didn't like it much. But when the company decided not to put that glue in the material anymore, I had nothing but complaints. The material moved. It didn't hold registration in the hoop. How do we fix that? Well, let me show you. We have a product that's fairly new to us. We refer to it as heat spun glue. It's a very wispy. It looks like tissue paper. It's got hardly any weight to it at all. But when you're using our patch material, we highly recommend you heat press the heat spun glue to the back side of the patch material. When you do that, you're adding stability. You're adding a way for your hoop to grab a hold of the material. Now this material, as you can see, it's got that shine on the back now. We added the heat spun glue in this. It only took 5 seconds. The cost of that heat spun glue is extremely inexpensive. We make it so that there's plenty of margin for you to make money earning patches. So once you add the heat spun, you're now ready to hoop. Now, in your own mind's eye, imagine I've got an embroidery machine here and I've hooped it. We're not quite set up with the embroidery machine, so I need you to use a little imagination. So we hooped this material now after we added the heat spun. When we were done sewing the material out, it will develop exactly what you put into your machine. We put in a patch border. We added a couple of words in the middle there. These are finished patches. They will look a lot like this white one. Let me show you this bigger one here, okay? These we did out in a field, and all you want to do is you'll see the back of the patch, you'll see all the thread, the bobbin thread. Now you're going to cover this, the back side of this, with what's called heat seal glue. So you go from a very, very lightweight spun to sewing out the patch, and now you're going to add the heavier, very thick and strong heat seal glue, okay? And by pressing that under the heat press, the way you're going to do it is you're simply going to sandwich it between a piece of non-stick paper. So we're going to get one right here, and we're going to add this heat seal glue to the back of it. This is right where we are after we take it out of the hoop. So we're going to put the heat seal glue on the back, and we're going to protect it inside of our little piece of non-stick, and we're going to press this for about 8 to 10 seconds, okay? That's all we need to do. Once that's done, we're counting down. We're just about where we need to be. About 8 seconds later, we're going to take it up, and we're going to flip it over. We like to press twice to make sure that the glue gets embedded into the fabric, okay? So when we're finished, it's going to come out looking just like what you see. This material is now sealed from the back side. None of the bobbin thread, none of the extra threads that are back there are exposed. Now, I took the paper off the back of our heat seal glue. This is what it looks like if the paper is still attached. It's a non-stick paper, so that will aid in heat pressing as well. So now we're about to move to the final step where you're going to cut it out. We recommend cutting on glass. The thicker, the better. So 1/4 inch glass you get at your local hardware store. And what we like to do is I cut the patches out to use them individually. I'm not cutting near the thread's edge. I'm just cutting them out so that I can use each patch one at a time. Now, the one thing we haven't yet talked about, this is the heat seal knife, okay? So this hot knife has got a nice cutting tip on it. It's made out of brass. It's shapeable, sharpenable, if you will. I haven't had too many that needed to be replaced. This is called the universal tip. We also have a universal mini tip. All you're going to do.
Someone has a question.
Oh, sure. What's your question?
I already own a hot knife.
Okay.
Can I use it?
You can, or maybe not. Let me explain. We tested 5 different temperature ratings on a hot knife. This one burns at about 730 to 750 degrees. I can cut a white patch with this knife and not darken the edge. Now, I've seen some hot knives burn at 1200 degrees. They'll burn through the thread really, really quick. You'll make quick work of your patches, but everything you touch will turn black and charcoal. So it's a great question, but please get a knife that's got a lower temperature in the 700 range and you'll do fine.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Real simple. I don't know, Mark, if you want to get the camera any closer.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it closer, okay?
All right. We're gonna position the very tip of the knife. It looks like let's just call it like a ballerina slipper, you know, a toe shoe. You want to cut using just the tip only. When I put the knife down on the table, I don't want it to be flat. I don't want the whole shoe to be flat against the table. Oh, I should move it down here. Sorry about that. There we go. Now I can see. Look at that. Okay. I want to use it upright. So I just want to be cutting with the toe, not the heel. Okay. So when I'm approaching the patch to cut, since I'm lefty, I don't want it straight up and down because you see the bow of the boat, it's like wedging through the water. I want the side that's close to the edge to be upright. So that's how I address my patch. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I leave the patch solid. I position my hand on the glass and I use my fingers to pull it toward me. And as I get to a certain spot to turn it, I then will address another spot. Now, in the meantime, I use a dry paper towel. It's like a wipe-off station. We're going to move it right over here on the side. I'm going to put it on the glass so it doesn't move. When you are pulling the knife through that material, it's melting the material. That material is going to wind up on the patch. Let's do a little test cut way over here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay? Going through this material is pretty easy. Now, there is a shine of material on there right now. It's on both sides. If that stays there, it's going to continue to darken and darken and darken and burn. So I wipe it off every chance I get. So let's start doing this. We're going to, you have a question?
Oh, is what, every couple inches?
Yeah, it all depends on, I might have small cuts. I mean, you look at this this patch here, I did little cuts here back and forth, and I would wipe off as I feel that I needed to.
Okay.
So you start out by just putting the tip right against the edge, and you're just slowly drawing right down the patch, okay?
It looks like you move pretty fast.
Well, I've done a lot of patches, Mark. I've had people
so you don't have to
me,
go slow. You can go as fast as
you can go as fast as the knife allows you.
Okay, great.
Okay? So I'll move the patch out and I draw it to me. Okay. Now I've done quite a few patches I've cut in my time, and as I turn the patch, I wipe the material off, and then I reposition the knife. So all I'm doing is, since I've done this so many times, I feel very comfortable moving my hand at the same time. But a beginner, I'd recommend you keep things solid and you just simply move the knife itself, just like so. Do you see what we're doing? Anybody with questions, you can rattle them out, but you can tell. See the white? The white means you're getting a nice clean cut through.
So someone asked, how does the paper come off the back now? Because it looks like
it just peels
paper.
off. Yeah,
oh,
it'll
okay.
stay. It'll just peel off. You can either cut it off like around the edges. In some cases, if I wanted to, I could press hard enough to cut through the paper. You see that? I can cut through it, but in some cases I don't just choose not to. So I'm almost through this patch. I'm just using the last little bit here, wiping. You can see the blue that's on that knife. And then I'm just about done with this one. And you can get pretty crazy with how you make your design. But I'll wipe it off again and I put it in the little cradle. Now this patch is currently finished, but let's pull it out and let's look at it. Okay.
So while you're pulling that apart and giving people a quick close-up view, someone had asked about the border of it, and Alf can answer for it quickly. I mean, so the border of it is not just a regular satin stitch that we put on it. We actually have designed a particularly nice border with multiple stitches within it, multiple layers to help make the patches come out better. Now you can, of course, if you're custom making any size, you can get in there and play with your densities, and we'll help you out with that, of course. But we do sell pre-digitized patch border CDs, which I'll send a link out to everybody as well too, so you can check that out.
Now we're going to cut another one out because I want you to see how when you go around corners and whatnot. But this is kind of hard to see the edges, but when there's a sharp edge, a lot of these squares will leave sharp edges. I'm not a big fan of sharp edges, so what I do, besides using the hot knife right here, I use the body of it too. And I'll just simply round something off, just using the body of that hot knife just to get rid of that very, very sharp edge. And not everything you cut out will have a perfect cut on it. So sometimes that little hot knife will help you smooth something. But this is a perfectly cut out patch, which will not unravel. The entire thing has been sealed, cauterized. And so we're going to cut one more out. We're going to move these little patches off the edge. And let's go to this next blue one. Again, I like to do a simple little cut to make my material smaller to deal with. Okay? And all we're going to do is just give it a nice quick cutout.
And I'll let you cut while I'll tell them a few things. So someone had asked about what type of paper towel or whatever can you use to wipe it. And we use the Coldesi and Colmany company. I think whoever supplies our paper towels, it's the cheapest paper towel in the world.
Right.
So you can use anything as long as it's dry and it's obviously not going to burn. If you used a piece of tissue paper, that would burn immediately. But the paper towel, you can wipe it. It's not going to catch on fire. And use it as needed, as much as you can.
Now, a few years ago, I made a mistake of thinking that a wet paper towel, a damp paper towel would do a better job of wiping off, and it did. Problem was, it kept cooling down my tip.
Okay.
And when you cool down the hot knife's tip, it doesn't cut as effectively. But it takes me a while to learn things like that, so I was frustrated for a little while. But now I just stepped around these little circled edges or rounded edges, and looking here, you'll see I did it a little quick to show you something. I left them a little bit rough, and again, you're gonna have a lot of rough edges when you're new to this cutting job. Mm-hmm. So you just use the body of the knife and just smooth it out, and it comes out extremely nice. It looks like a marrowed edge patch, but without that marrowed edge cost. So this is finished. So is the other one. Both of these patches are ready to be ironed on to your final garment, if that's what you choose to. But they come out so thin, so very thin that they can be sewn on. Now, something else I'd like to show you is we're going to put it over here on the heat press mark. We're going to show them how these patches go on the garment.
Sure.
Real simple. Okay. We just have a nice little garment press right here, a little heat press. I've used this shirt before. We're just going to simply put that just kind of nonchalantly, just right there without any ceremony, and we're just going to press down the heat press for roughly, say, 8 to 10 seconds. Now you're pressing from the front for placement. All you need to do is just put it there for placement. Now the strength of the patch will come into play when I flip it over, and I'm going to press from the back side. It's kind of a little physics thing, folks. It has to do with science. The glue will want to come through the garment. It wants to reach the heat press. So press it from the back side for about twice as long. So you can go on the back side, say 15 to 20 seconds, and you will have extremely good grab on the glue to the garment.
And then someone had asked about the paper towel not catching on fire, and yeah, you don't have to worry about that. It's not that hot. And the other thing is the question is always about how long is that going to last on the garment? How old is the shirt behind you?
Well, the shirt behind me is probably upwards of 7 years old, and it has been washed several times. I add a couple of patches to it every other season. What's more importantly is I used to carry around a black shirt with me, a little not like a damaged shirt, but a shirt that you could just say was a test shirt. And I would challenge people to trade show to try to pull the patch off without ripping the garment. No one was able ever to do that. Now let me show you one quick thing.
Sure.
Here's a patch. Instead of ironing it on or sewing it on, what can we do? You can actually use Velcro, store-bought Velcro. I can put that right on the back of the patch. It absolutely loves the glue that's on the back of these patches.
So you can just glue it right on.
I can glue it right on. It's not a problem. And here's my patch. I can just put that on any garment I want. It looks like I'm wearing a potato chip, but at least it's something that can be, okay, it doesn't stick to my shirt very well. But sewing on Velcro onto a garment, we are in the MacDill area, the Air Force Base. We're very proud of our military over here, as you should be. And they use a lot of patches with Velcro. So they can be on a uniform shirt. They can be in many different functions. Velcro, fantastic way to use it on the back of the patch.
Great. Well, we're about out of time, so we're going to wrap it up real quick. We're going to say goodbye here because we're going to switch over to the computer screen.
Sounds good.
So
thank you.
Yeah, and we're
Happy
just
patching.
Happy patching, and we're going to switch to the computer so I can show you a couple things real quick. For one, if you go to the Coleman & Company site, you will see the patch in the front again. And if you go on here, you'll see our patch material. You'll see our patch twill material, which isn't quite as glossy and it's a little stiffer material. That comes in more colors. And you'll see our patch kits. You can click right here. And here's where you can shop. You can also pick up the border CDs. We have a new ones coming out, which actually we're featuring in this video, which were the name tags. So we have name tag CDs coming out too. These are ready to go. If you want to watch it again, and we will do more of these where we spend even more time going over a lot of detail. So thank you everybody for joining, and happy patch making.
Take care.